Hi, welcome to Asia. I'm Laurent Timmermans, and in this video we'll be talking about 5 things you should know about international taxation. Now, if you're watching this video, most likely you're wondering about international taxation, obviously. Otherwise, you will be looking at a cat video or baby video like anybody else on YouTube. But here's the thing. International taxation is an interesting topic for many individuals. Now, these videos have been made with the entrepreneurs in mind. So I'm not trying to explain international tax lawyer how to do international taxation. I'm trying to explain in layman terms how international taxation works for entrepreneurs. Now, this video is an introductory video to a series of 3 videos. This one on the personal residency, and one on the company residency. So there's 3 videos, so try to look at the entire stream, and that's how you will get most of all these videos. Okay, so let's start now. Number 1, international taxation is complex. Really complex. Why? Because if you look at the world, there's about 200 different countries in the world, depending on who's counting. Okay, and each of these jurisdictions has different rules for personal taxation, the corporate taxation, how they see things working. The American will tax the individuals based on citizenship. Eritrea as well. Most of the other countries will tax their resident. Other countries will tax only based on what we call a territorial base. So it's really complex. And now when you start playing in different countries, so when you are resident somewhere and you have a company somewhere else, maybe with a holding somewhere else, and then you do your business in a specific market, maybe that has GST or VAT, you get into a whole new level of complexity. And this is one thing you have to be aware of. Don't think it's easy and you can do it like with one trick or another, because it is complex. Be aware of that. And if the problem is complex, that means the solution has to be well thought. That doesn't mean the solution has to be complicated, but it has to be well thought. 2, there is no expert. Now, if you are an accountant or a tax lawyer, you will maybe be pissed off and start to comment down below. But here's the truth. When you talk about international taxation, I realize there is really not high standard of expertise. This is my experience sending my clients to expert. Okay. Now, just to clarify the things, I don't see myself as an international taxation expert. I have a fair understanding because I'm working in the field and I need to keep learning and help my clients somehow. To understand their problematic and just not sell things to them that will be damaging to their business or to themselves. So I just need to be responsible, and therefore that's why I'm more and more interested in international taxation. But now I'm quite disappointing when I send people to expert, because here's what will happen: you go to see 3 experts and you have 3 different opinions, and that's how come? Is it because these guys are not good? No, not necessary. It's because of the first reason. International taxation is complex and there is no black and white solution. There is not something extremely clear. It's always a little bit grayish. And that's why I'm saying there is no expert. So obviously I'm not saying that all the international taxation people are scam. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that it's difficult for them to give a really clean and clear solutions. And depending on who you are talking to, they will tell you something else. Now, there's 2 main trends, and I'm generalizing there. But there's 2 kind of people that will give you advice. The first one will be international tax lawyer. These people, they tend to say, yeah, everything is okay. Oh, you have a company in Hong Kong. Yeah, no problem. It's fine. So they tend to be much more lax, because in general lawyers tend to be, they like problems. They like to find a solution. They will come with the things more creative, but also the most dangerous. So you have to be careful. If you don't believe me, look at Amazon, Google, Apple. They are all in lawsuit because of tax, and they can hire the best expert on the market and they still have to pay fine. Okay, why? Because they look for loopholes and they try to optimize as much as possible, but it's always a little bit gray, so it's not completely sure. So this is what you have to understand. Then you have the accountant. The accountant is always like, no, impossible. You can't do that. So when you go see, generally when you go to see tax advisors, the accountant in your local jurisdiction, as soon as you say, oh, I want my company in Hong Kong, they start to freak out. That doesn't mean it's illegal. That doesn't mean you can't do it. But they just tend to freak out in general because they are afraid of things they don't really understand. And because also for their background, they are more prudent, which I personally prefer. I prefer people prudent than people that make you do stupid things and then after you have to defend yourself. I will give you an example. So I used to have this client, I still have him. He's a guy that lives in Israel, and he went to see one of the big four to ask for tax advice. So he talked to an international tax advisor, senior manager, whatever, at one of those big four. And then here's what the guy advised him. Okay, so first, you can stay in Israel, no problem. You stay there, and you're a resident of Israel. So I saw the file. Okay, that's what it said. You stay in Israel, but in Hong Kong, you create a permanent establishment so that you will pay your corporate tax in Hong Kong. Now, if you don't know what's a permanent establishment, wait for it. You will learn in my video on corporate residency. Basically, it's an office with staff, etc., just to make it really simple. So you have people here working in Hong Kong. And the other thing he told him, and if you have research on Hong Kong, you understand that it's totally dumb, is in Hong Kong now, you claim the offshore tax exemption so that you pay 0% tax in Hong Kong. But the truth is, to get the offshore tax exemption, one of the criteria is to not have a permanent establishment in Hong Kong. So my client pay a lot of money to these big four to get an advice that is actually wrong, and this guy didn't even check his fact with the Hong Kong office. And we ended up having an argument, by the way, with this guy. So you have to be really careful. When you consult experts, what I advise you to do is go see 2-3 of them to get different opinions. And one thing that you should do also is maybe mix accountant and lawyers, okay, because they have really two different approach. The accountant tend to be really risk averse when the lawyer tend to be more creative. So by asking advice to both of them, you can find kind of the truth, okay? And even more important, I would say, find an expert that is ready to defend you, that is ready to defend your story. So not just one that give advice, not just one that say, yeah, it's okay, you can do that, Because, even if you follow, in their advice most of the time, like I saw this one from the Big Four, there were 8 pages of disclaimer out of, I think the whole file was like 20, 30 pages, something like that, It was quite a document. But I remember 8 of these pages were just pure disclaimer, okay? So try to find somebody that can actually advise you and defend you in case you get called by... most likely it will be somebody in your own country. I mean, it will be your taxman in your own country. Get somebody that can go there and explain the story of your, explain your story, okay? 3, the principle of prudence. So what my take with international taxation is that in doubt, instead of going for the most creative solution, which is really in the gray area, really edgy, what I would do is to go for the prudence. Choose a solution that, you can really defend, that makes sense. Because living out of an elite visa, for example, in Thailand, and thinking, I should be resident with these, but I'm not totally sure. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. So doing that, on top of that, having a Hong Kong company claiming offshore tax exemption in Hong Kong, so completely demonstrating there is no substance in Hong Kong, with a company then that will have substance nowhere. And then, here you are really taking risk, because it's clear nowhere. Your residency isn't clear. Your personal residency isn't clear. Your company residency is not clear neither. And what I can tell you, if you have seen also my other videos in the past, is that things on an international level are getting really clear, really transparent. So the states now, the jurisdictions are being really well aware of where you have bank accounts, where you have companies, and they can go after you. So in the past, being edgy and going in the gray area could be kind of dangerous and fun at the same times, and actually fairly and risky because the government had no freaking idea what you were doing. But nowadays they will know. And even if there will be no case for the next 1 or 2 years, because it's fairly new, starting in 2017, 2018, the automatic exchange of information, they will start to know. So what I advise you to do is be prudent. Choose your residency really carefully, your personal residency. Choose your company residency as well as you can. And if possible, even create a permanent establishment in the country where you want to be, where you want your company to be a resident. And make sure those two countries works well together, and together with your country of citizenship. And organize something that is fairly prudent. The time to go cowboy is gone, and be careful of the guru that tells you, yes, sure, you do this, you do that. At the end of the day, they are not the one that will defend you. So be prudent. Fourth thing you should know about international taxation. Look at the big picture. International taxation is a holistic problem. You cannot only look at separate facts. You cannot only look at your company residency in one jurisdiction, or only look at your personal residency somewhere, or you need to look at it in a holistic manner. You have to see where you're a citizen, where you are a resident, where was your last residency, what are the rules in all these different jurisdictions, where is your company, if your company is held by another company, where is this company, what are the rules there, and make sure the whole picture works together. I know I keep repeating the same thing, but it's really important. You need to be holistic. 5, get your story straight. I would say one of the really important things there, as I told you, is that the overall environment is fairly complex. Different jurisdictions, different rules, different regulations, different realities, different business models, different lifestyle, and all these is extremely complex. Now, what will be important is what is your story and how you tell it. So make sure that you create a story that is genuine and where you show your good faith. Because one day maybe you will have to defend yourself. Even if you are totally clean, even if you have done nothing wrong, maybe one day you will be caught and you will have to explain how come you have a Hong Kong company and how come you live in Southeast Asia like 6 months a year, and how come your residency is in Bulgaria but you don't stay too long there. How can you explain that? And you have to make sure you have a compelling story. Why is the company in Hong Kong? Well, maybe because you do your sourcing there. Maybe you need the financial services from Hong Kong to make it operate well. Maybe it's an international business, and Hong Kong is one of the 4th largest financial center in the world. These kind of things would make sense, to explain why you have this company there. Then your personal residency, why did you choose this one instead of that one? Make sure you have a story and that this story makes sense. And to get back to the point 2 that I mentioned before on the expert, also make sure you have an expert in this jurisdiction that can help you to defend yourself and that believes in that story. Now, I hope this video was useful. I hope you learned something. That was the 5 key points. I will repeat them here. I will put a slide just to as a conclusion, just to remind you. So first, complexity. Okay, so the world is complex, and take this complexity into account. Be careful that there's no expert out there, and there's an overall uncertainty about the advice that they will give you. I advise you to really to use a principle of prudence and be pretty prudent in how you structure your international operations. Consider the big picture, so look at things in a holistic manner, and finally get your story straight. I hope you like this video. Now, if you think this is interesting and you would like to learn more, as I said, this is a series of 3 videos, and the next one will be discussing residency, personal residency. I advise you to have a look at it and see what will be the overall criteria in general to determine a personal residency. The other video that I invite you to look at is the video on company residency. So how do we determine the company residency? We'll be talking, for example, about a permanent establishment that I mentioned several times in this video. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, then show it. I mean, put a thumbs up. This really help. And if you like the kind of content you see on this channel, please subscribe to the channel so that you will receive ongoing updates. Now be careful that I'm not a really heavy poster, so generally what I do, I post a whole bulk of video all at once every month or 2 months. So I really advise you to press the bell on these YouTube channels so that you will receive updates when I post. Otherwise YouTube will just make my channel disappear in your feed. Okay, so see you soon.